welcome back to another episode of Sit and Spin with me, your host, Scruffy Joe Royland. Today on the show, it's the return of a 90s rock band making their big comeback with their latest album, California, and the band Blink-182. It's named after their home states, and there's kind of a loose theme that runs throughout the album based on the title track, with several of the songs referencing key cities in the state, but overall it's more of a loose thread than like a concept of the record. Blink-182, long history to the band. The group my wife refers to as Is That the Naked Band, due to their 1999 single All the Small Things, and also because of the similar band number names that popped up around the same time. Groups like Matchbox 20, Third Eye Blind, Sum 41, SR 71, Stroke 9, just to name a few off the top of my head. But the group was formed in 1992 by the trio of Tom Delonge on guitars and vocals, Mark Hoppus on bass and vocals, and original drummer Scott Rayner. The group were originally called just Blink, but changed their name when threatened with legal action when there was an Irish band of the same name. They took a couple of weeks trying to think of something better, couldn't come up with it, and just decided, let's just add 182 onto the end of that. So was born Blink-182. They broke through to fame in the big time with the release of their second album and major label debut, Dude Ranch, on MCA Records in 1997. And following the tour for that record, Rayner was replaced due to artistic differences. He felt the band was getting too commercial. He was much more of a punk purist. And Travis Barker came in and filled in on the drum chair for him, which to me was a trade up, if you ask me, because Barker's a great drummer. This led to their follow-up record, Enema of the State, the 5-time platinum-selling album from 1999, which featured the previously mentioned All the Small Things video. And the band had much more continued success for that. They followed that record up in 2011 with the record Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which was similarly as successful. But it was around the making of this album that cracks started to show in the artistic stylings of the band. Tom Delonge wanted to make some heavier guitar-driven stuff. So the following year, he kind of took a little time off to kind of dissuade those feelings and record some stuff that he thought didn't fit Blink, but he just wanted to get it out there. And Boxcar Racer was born in 2012, which Travis Barker also contributed to being a part of. But instead of kind of assuage the original situation, it actually caused a little bit of further division among the group, because Mark Hoppus felt a little betrayed that he wasn't asked to contribute to the project too. And around this time too, Travis Barker also worked with Rancid's Tim Armstrong in the Transplant Side project. But Blink would reunite back again in 2003 and get to working on their 5th album, self-titled release, which showed a more mature direction. Is actually one of my favorite releases from the band. It's a great record. And the band went out and toured behind that. But following that, in 2005, they took an indefinite hiatus, because by this time the band members were all fathers and wanted to spend more time with their family, particularly Tom Delonge. And they went about working on side projects. Delonge formed the more arena rock sounding Airwaves and Angels, who released several albums. The first two were probably the best. And Hoppus and Barker formed Plus 44, but neither was really as successful as Blink was. But the band still hadn't worked out their differences, and it would take Barker almost dying in a plane crash and the death of their longtime producer Jerry Finn of a cerebral hemorrhage in 2008 to actually finally reunite the group. Realizing that life was short and fragile, they decided they wanted to work together again, and they set about touring and working up their next record. But it would still take another 3 years for the release of their 6th album, Neighborhoods, in 2011. But I was excited for that record to come out, but when it finally did, it just, I don't know, the excitement just kind of dissipated. The same magic just kind of wasn't there. The album didn't sell as well. Apparently I wasn't alone thinking that, because the album didn't sell as well. And the concerts weren't as well as attended, and the cracks started to reappear in the band again. And even though they kind of kept up a good front and tried to keep going, this eventually led to Tom Delonge's official departure from the group in early 2015, where, depending on who you ask, which party, he either quit or was fired. But basically it came down to Hoppus and Barker wanted to keep making music as Blink-182, which you can't blame them all. And they basically told Delonge, shit, get off the pot. And so he was ousted from the band, and they took legal action to be able to retain the band's name wisely. And they brought in Alkaline Trio frontman, singer-guitarist Matt Skiba to be his official replacement. And initially, I had my doubts, as Delonge was such a strong presence in the band, especially vocally. He was half the band, at least vocally. But Matt Skiba has proved to be a great replacement, and I always liked Alkaline Trio stuff anyway, so that was good. And while he's not necessarily as distinctive a voice as Tom Delonge was, he still has a distinctive voice. It's a little closer sounding to Mark Hoppus's, so sometimes the only downside of that is their voices kind of meld together, and it's kind of hard to tell who's who exactly on a track, but they do sound great, trading off vocals and harmonizing together on the album. And that, of course, brings us to the new record, California, which was produced by John Feldman of the band Goldfinger, old touring partners of the band. And in preparation for this release, the group recorded upwards of 50 tracks for the album, whittling it down to the 16 that finally comprised the album proper. And they wanted to get the best bits of the band's kind of classic sounds, some musical comedy bits that they're known for, things like Built This Pool, where Hopper, it's only like 2 lines in the whole song, and one of them is like Hopper just basically screaming, I want to see some naked dudes. That's why I built this pool. Great bit. And then also the punnily titled Bohemian Rhapsody, which closes out the album, as well as some new sounding stuff for the record. It's their first record on a new deal they signed with BMG Records, which gives them pretty good artistic creative control. And overall, it is a solid album, which brought the band their first #1 record in 15 years, debuting at the top spot upon its release back in July of this year, which initially, or not initially I should say, usually would be the 182nd day of the year, but it was a leap year this year and it was 183rd. And it's just taken me this long to get around to reviewing the album. The album's lead-off single, Bored to Death, which we heard a couple songs back, also showed the return to form, topping the alternative singles chart when it came out at #1 too. And there's just tons of other great strong tracks on this album too. The opening song, Cynical, starts off kind of sparse and then explodes into a driving punk rock number. She's Out of Her Mind, which you just heard. Another great tune, which features more sing-along side vocals, as does Sober, was another good sing-along track, which Sober was co-written by Patrick Stump, a Fall Out Boy who also contributes to the song San Diego. Really like the track you're hearing right now, Los Angeles, which features kind of a darker ska influence track and primarily Matt Skiba on lead vocals. No Future is another classic Blink sounding tune. The Gentle Home is a Lonely Place is as close as this record gets to a ballad. And filling out the record are other excellent tracks like Kings of the Weekend, Teenage Satellites, and the album's title track, California. But overall, it's a very, very welcome return to form for Blink-182, and hopefully just promise of the things to come. Like, if they can continue and keep making records as strong as this one, Blink's definitely still got a very good future ahead of them, and I'm happy for that. Well, good on you guys. So that is the show for this week. Blink-182's California. Go out and get it now, and we will talk to you next time on Sit and Spin, when we'll have something else new for you then. Not sure what it'll be yet. A couple things up in the air, but we'll find out. Catch you next time, and we'll see you later. Thanks for tuning in.